And we're back with episode number 2. So, Amy, why don't we go ahead and start off with asking, how was your first ever podcast experience last week?
It was pretty fun. I enjoyed myself. I liked talking.
Yeah.
So I had a good time.
Yeah, so it seems to be an arena of your strength, an arena of my strength. I think you are very expressive, so your eyes will be communicating something, your face will be communicating something, and then, of course, I think both of us talk with our hands, so then our hands are communicating something. You said you got a chance to watch it back. Did you have any thoughts or perspectives from watching it back and playing it that way?
Thoughts. Move the microphone to the other side. That was one thing.
Yeah.
Definitely, I felt like we touched on so many things that even I have to remind myself sometimes. I felt like going back and rewatching it made me feel like, oh, I'm glad I stood on it.
In what way?
Like I didn't go back and think like, oh, why did I say that? I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay, like, you know what? I made some sense there. Like, I like this girl.
Yeah, no, there's something about recording content and then going back to it and going, I think there's I mean, when you record enough, there'll be absolutely times when you go, I would have said that differently, or I think a little bit separately, or no, actually, I disagree with all of that now.
Yeah. Some things, but I did feel like, oh, wow, yeah, I really do think that I was able to portray my point across. Like, I was able to get
Yeah.
how I actually feel.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you did. And I think each time I get a chance to do it and see how how it looks, and how I think about the whole production side of it, but then to being able to connect with somebody, especially if we're having conversations that we probably would have had anyway if we were at a meal, or you and I were having these conversations via text message or over dinner, or we're having these conversations, but then being able to bring people into these conversations to me is very special and endearing. So I'm looking forward to our continued conversation as we move through and talk about other topics. I know one thing when I went back through, I know you called me a rule follower, and I was like, oh, like what's my ego doing? You know what I'm saying, in this space? And I don't know about you, but I don't know if you have moments when your brain is like doing things that you're not necessarily even telling it to do. So I find myself doing that with debates or arguments or perspectives, and so my brain will go, oh, okay, like she called me a rule follower and called her a non-rule follower. And then so my brain, without me even trying, will organize all of the ways she also follows a bunch of rules. We might follow different sets of rules at different times, but I was like, okay, does she ever drive the speed limit? Does she ever type with both hands? Does she talk on her phone upside down? Like, you think about all these rules. Okay, so you don't hang upside down and like go to sleep. You just sleep horizontal. That's a rule. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you eat through your nose or whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like the idea of there's a certain number of rules that we all seem to follow, but then there's other rules that everybody doesn't follow, and there's some. So I was like, rule follower. And then what my brain ultimately came to a conclusion was that we all seem to be a little bit of a rule follower, but there are absolutely deviations when it comes to some of the specific ways that we approach life. Any perspective on the rule follower thoughts that we had last time?
The thoughts that we had last time?
Or like is this
Like right now?
Okay, right.
I
So,
do definitely think that it's uncomfortable to sleep upside down.
Yeah.
So is that a rule or is that a preference that a lot of people
Okay.
have?
Yeah. Or brushing your teeth. I think that's a rule that maybe we both have, and hopefully we both practice every morning. That's a rule.
Definitely.
Wearing clothes, we both practice the principle of putting clothes on to come out
There
in
are some
public.
people who don't follow these rules.
Right, but in the discussion, it was like, "Hey, you're a rule follower and I'm not." Was
But
co-
are these rules or they're laws?
okay? Break
have-
it down. Break it down.
You have to wear clothes outside. You know? So like legally
so then that's
is a rule that we're all following.
a rule can also be a law. There's some people who break that rule and break that law. Has there never been a naked person outside before?
I've never seen one.
Bless your heart, and may it never happen to you.
That
But-
is true.
But did you see the GTA 6 trailer that came out? It was real
I-
popping about a month or two ago.
I did not see it.
I feel like you would have. You know what
I
I'm
see
saying?
a lot of the comments on all the stuff that it's like, oh wow, we're gonna get snow before GTA 6 or something like that.
Right. Well, GTA 6
Texas.
popped off with their new trailer a month and a half ago. It's coming out in 2025, which would be next year. But they pulled, I guess, some of their footage from actual events that happened in Florida, because I guess it's set in a pseudo Florida space as far as the GTA 6. But one of them was like a man outside, like in a thong watering his grass. That happened in real life, but they brought that into the game. So they kind of try to bring some real elements. In other words, I would say he would be breaking the rule that you and I both follow
He might
as
be
followers
He might be
of
dancing
rules.
on the line there, but if he has like a speedo thong on,
Yeah, right. So all of that to say is, I'm not. I might follow different rules than you at times, but I'm
That's
not
true.
convinced that you're also not a rule follower, as almost all of us are in some way,
That's
shape,
true.
or form.
I don't speed.
So take that. No, I'm just
Except that one time I got a speeding ticket. Or twice.
but even the reference you said, oh, because I replaced my Monster Energy drinks, or I replaced my Topo Chico, like that was the big groundbreaking rule. Is like, this is just being in a civil household where you practice principles that make your life better.
I guess we're just monkeys at my house throwing stuff around.
Yeah. All right. So one thing, even it's kind of fascinating to think about. So, and in the preparation for our pod today, what I thought I'd do is go into ChatGPT and ask it for the top 10 problems that Gen Z adults are facing, or specifically Gen Z women are facing today. And one of the areas of the issues was with when it comes to body image. And I bring that up. I'll go ahead and read from a section of my book where I'm quoting somebody else's book. But Courtney Ackerman, she had put down a few statistics in her book, Beauty Sick. And she put 44% of girls and 15% of boys in high school are attempting to lose weight. Okay, so you might put some of these stats, and I'm going to read a few. So you might not be able to recall all of them, or maybe I can stop at a few. The second bullet point is 7 in 10 girls believe they are not good enough or don't measure up in some way. Number 3, 90% of women want to change at least one aspect of their physical appearance. Number 4, the vast majority, 81% of 10-year-old girls are afraid of being fat. Number 5, only 2% of women think they are beautiful. Now, couple this with some other data that was in the book, Beauty Sick, and it was talking about like 90% of the surgeries, the cosmetic surgeries are also done by women. 90% of the I think the bulimic cases are women. So anyway, you hear that about your own generation being one of the top 10 problems that women of your generation, women of your age face today. What are some thoughts that come to mind, and how have you been able to navigate all that for yourself?
Ooh. I completely see exactly how that's happening. I mean, obviously social media has played a big part in that. I myself feel like I've done things to be more comfortable. I had braces 2 times. I did the Invisaligners. I did it, all of that, because I felt uncomfortable with the way that I looked. And it's funny, you think about like, getting braces, and it's like, oh, well, some people say like getting braces, that's different than like going and getting, cosmetic surgery. But to me, I don't know if there's a big difference between going and getting cosmetic surgery because you don't like something on your face. Like I've had friends who, they have a larger nose. So then whenever they're laughing, they're covering themselves. I used to do it when my teeth used to bunch up in the front, and like I would go and I would cover my face anytime I was laughing. I would always put my hand over my face, and I see people do it now because I know that's what I used to do. So like people when they're laughing, sometimes like I'll see them cover their mouth.
Yeah.
And that's I used to do it. So like when I see other people do it, I'm like, oh, like I wish. And I know it sounds crazy, like, oh man, like they should get braces, because then now I laugh all the time, and like I'm always like showing my teeth, like it doesn't bother me at all now.
Yeah.
So it's like that little tiny, almost like weight that it wasn't that heavy, but like I carried that little weight every time I was laughing, every time I was doing something. I would always cover my teeth. I would always like, if you could see it from one side more than the other, like I always made sure to try to like talk to people on the other side, So I think,
Yeah.
I've had friends, who get a nose job and all of a sudden their personality blossoms, like
Interesting.
some
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that have happened. And I completely feel like, I don't know if it's because of what other people say or social media. I feel like social media does play a part in it, but a lot of the times when you're having social interactions in person, people say things and they don't see that sometimes you take that personally. Like sometimes people will make a joke, and they'll say like or even just make a comment, like just us as a society. I feel like we are real big on that,
Yeah.
even just like, making a comment. Like I know boys do it to each other a lot in high school, where they'll
for
like
sure.
make fun of like the bigger boys, or they'll
Yeah.
say like,
So- I'll tell you a quick story from high school. I remember my friend and I, Robert, were in this class. It was an avid class for college preparation and all that. So we were in the class, and we were having this debate among one another, saying, "Oh, like who's nicer in this class, you or me?" And I was like, "There's no way." Again, we were already, I think, seniors at this time, so there's no way this dude is considered nicer than I am. Like I don't be messing with people or insulting people or whatever. So we get to a friend. Should I say her name? It doesn't really matter. So I'm not gonna say her last name. Okay, friend. I'll say the name. So a friend named Elizabeth, right? And she voted for Robert instead of me, right? And again, why do I remember this? 20 years later, I don't know, but let me get to the point. So she says Robert is nicer than me. I said, oh, how come? And then she said, because I've called her a witch since the freshman year of high school, which was like 3 or 4 years, right? And I don't know if I ever shared the perspective on it, but did you ever see there was an old school show, Nick at Night, and there was, I think it was Bewitched was the show, and she would kind of twinkle her nose. She's very,
oh, yeah,
very,
she would
very,
go like this.
yeah, very, very pretty woman who would do that. And in my head, what I was referring to when I was calling her a witch wasn't this ghoul of a human being with a long nose and the warts and the whatever, like hair all over the place and face wrinkly and horrific looking person. In my brain, I'm thinking about this beautiful woman from Bewitched, the actress. She whatever, she's a lovely looking person. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so the idea that I could even casually be calling this girl a witch, and all of this for 3 or 4 years, I don't even know if I've ever cleared it up with her. I did, again, to go back and go, wow, like for 3 or 4 years at least, maybe, again, who knows if she thought about it longer. You just said, like, sometimes we don't even understand how much our words mean to people, but she thought I considered her a witch, and she was absolutely not, even nothing like that. In fact, probably like natural beauty, probably like top up there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, but little things like that you don't even think of. Like, hey, I was having an impact when I was calling her a witch, but referring to this lovely kind of a witch. So all that to say, it was like, like things like that kind of hurt. I mean, hurt in hindsight, looking about how I could have used other words, like other than witch, to refer to somebody, So
yeah, exactly. So I don't cause I'm not 100% sure. I do think that social media has made things worse. I think that people are getting more okay with talking about, you know, weight and like beauty standards.
Yeah.
You know, people will say like what they want to do for themselves, you know, to make it better. Or they want to get lip fillers, they want to get, you know, Botox or whatever it is. And it's not something where people like stop and think like, "Oh no, like you're beautiful just the way you are." You know, especially I don't know how much we compliment each other. I feel like especially in person.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have friends on the internet and they'll comment up a storm, you know, hard eyes, you look beautiful, perfect,
Mm.
you know, whatever, whatever. But how often are we saying this to each other in person? You know, like when
Well,
your friend comes and tells
yeah.
you, hey, like I want to get Botox because I'm getting wrinkles on wherever, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, like, yeah, do whatever. Because nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody wants to be like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Or don't do that because of whatever. You know, I feel like everybody kind of wants to do what they want. They want to be on everybody's side. They all want to be friendly. So they're like, do whatever you want to do. Yeah, I think I would want to do something similar. Instead of saying, like, you're beautiful just the way you are. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have wrinkles. Your wrinkles, you're not that old. Like, you know, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you've seen that meme that said it has like pretty much like a fine looking dude on one side of it and then like a rough looking like middle-aged man on the other side, and it said the difference between flirtation and then sexual harassment. You seen this? No?
no.
But we'll have to pull it up. Maybe not now, but the idea that is interesting, you say it, like once we begin to talk about potential solutions, right? Oh, well, one solution, let's everybody call each other beautiful, right? And then all of a sudden, like the middle-aged, okay, let's say the 53-year-old man calling the 22-year-old woman beautiful on an ongoing basis, and it's like creeper, like get out of
Yeah.
here, what are you doing, making people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, if it's the 27-year-old stud, you know what I'm saying? He looks good, and then okay, now you could call all the women beautiful because of who you are and how you're. So then there's like this whole, again, interesting navigating standards of being able to even, like, can you call somebody beautiful nowadays in a professional environment? Like,
Maybe not professionally, but I feel like, you know, you're talking to your friends. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly, even thinking about it right now, I don't think I tell my friends enough, like,
yeah,
you know, you look good just the way you are. But I do think it's something maybe amongst peers. I think peers are not doing it enough. You know,
Yeah.
like me, myself, I don't tell my friends enough, like, you know, you look beautiful just the way you are. And I feel like those things mean a little bit more. So, like, as a peer, when somebody tells you that you're beautiful, you know, you kind of take it a little bit more like, oh, she thinks I'm beautiful, or,
yeah,
you know, somebody that I'm close to, or even maybe not beautiful. Let's not say, like, if it was a guy
yeah.
that I'm married, I don't have any guy friends, but like other people in our generation.
Amen, church. No, I'm just kidding.
Other people in our generation, you know, like have male, female friends. Like
Yeah.
you can say like, when somebody starts saying stuff like that, instead of you just coming out and saying like you're beautiful, you could just say like you're not ugly, you know, like you're an attractive woman. Like, don't sell yourself short or think that you have to do anything.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, like as your friend, I'm gonna, you know, love you regardless.
Right. Now, you brought up an interesting point too about, can you just call anyone beautiful? Like, does everybody get that? Like, so because
I don't know if men should be calling women beautiful that are not trying to do anything, you know, as far as pursuing a relationship. You can call somebody, like, say that they have a beautiful personality.
So you can say beautiful personality, but almost when you say that, it doesn't it almost seem like a backhanded compliment to their looks? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really win. It's like, you have a beautiful personality. What are you trying to say? You know what I'm saying?
Are you saying I'm ugly on the outside?
Well, in the book, and maybe this book, Beauty Sick, is a book we should, whether we read together or we just discuss topics that are inside of it.
Book club.
Right. Maybe this is a piece of the book club because it talks about these statistics, talks about some solutions. Not saying we even have to agree with everything that she proposes,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember in one part of the book, she was proposing, is beauty subjective or objective? I'll tell you what it came about in the book. What is your perspective? Does it express in beauties in the eyes of the beholder? Oh, well, everybody's beautiful to somebody, or like, is there a consensus, or if we were voting, would it be really clear on who were the beautiful ones and who were the not so beautiful ones? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes,
I
what?
do think there would be a general consensus. Like, I do think that there is definitely going to be a majority of people will think that the same women are beautiful.
Yes.
You know, and it's unfortunate. Have you ever heard the term sex sells?
For sure.
So and then that has, not necessarily, into those industries or whatever, but even just like regular commercials.
Right,
When
right.
you're watching a commercial for cologne, it's always like a guy like shirtless in the water, you know what I mean? Like, because those things are what makes more money. You can look at the data when it is, has to do with, shaping fruit, like, putting underwear on fruit, that makes it look more appealing for some reason.
Wait.
No, like, I've seen.
Time out, rewind.
No,
What
like,
are you talking about?
So when I was in school, we did a project, right?
Yeah.
So it was showing us like different commercials. So like it was like a commercial for like, I don't know what it was. I want to say it was like a I don't know if it was a fruit commercial. So it was like a brand of fruit, right? So
Yeah.
what they did was they got like a pear, right? The shape of a pear, and they put like underwear on the pear, like a tiny underwear on the pear, and they were like, like everything's always sexualized, women's bodies, like
Yeah,
they make
yeah.
things in the shape of women's bodies or like, different things like that, and it sells, and it's unfortunately,
Wait, so then did the fruit become more attractive?
I mean, more appealing. I don't know.
See, when I think about underwear on my fruit, maybe it's a germaphobe in me. When I go like, ooh, like,
I can see
we're
that.
talking about brand new underwear. Like, we're not talking about used, right?
Look up sexy fruit.
But
But even that, yeah. So like, I do. You can tell the difference, like especially at like different places. So like, I used to work at a place like where you wear the uniform, where it's a girl's uniform. So like,
No, just kidding.
so I worked there, and I hate to say this, but I do know that wherever the more beauty standard beautiful women were,
Yeah.
those stores made more money. So
That's crazy.
my firsthand, I've gotten to see that like everybody's like, oh, like don't go to that one. That's where all the chubby girls are. Like, oh, like we'll drive 30 minutes out of our way to come to this one when we have to pass the other one on the way here because we prefer to look at the girls here. Or over there, or whatever. So I've heard
Yeah.
it several times,
Well,
which kind of
Well,
it's
go ahead.
unfortunate. I want
Yeah.
to say, and I think all the women there were beautiful too. Like I worked at 3 or 4 different stores,
Yeah.
and I felt like, and I worked at the ones where they said there wasn't as many attractive women. I worked at the ones where they said it was all the attractive women. I did all these things, and there were certain standards that had to be met, and you could tell the difference. You could tell the difference as to where the money was coming in, the kind of people that were brought in, and what happened.
Yeah. I think the unfortunate thing, as I reflect on me, this is sad. As a sad reality, is my annoyance tolerance, even among people. So my annoyance tolerance among more beautiful people compared to less beautiful people, that's sad, right? Like, why is it? And it's not even like maybe an active choice, but I find myself asking the question: if this person looked more beautiful, why do I feel like I would be more gracious? Why do I feel like I would be more patient? Why do I feel like I'd be more kind? And it shouldn't be like that. In fact, maybe it's like the exact opposite of what the people need. Not saying that you should be rude to the the pretty people, but there's a reality of and I've seen references to studies about people who would talk about the more attractive people get the better jobs or get the higher pay and all of that, like the connection between how you look and even what money you make, which I believe she talks about in the book Beauty Sick as well, because it's also an unfair advantage.
Yes. So I think that makes it hard, especially now where we do have social media and then there's people you see beautiful people on, the TikTok and the Instagram, and then you see like they're not only making more money, but they're showing you like everything they're buying with all the money that they're making. So then that just makes you want to do it even more.
The aspirational lifestyle. Yeah. Did you see have you seen any of the show The Boys on Amazon? It's like it's not a knockoff is the wrong word, but it's like, what if the superheroes were like equivalent to politicians?
Yeah.
You seen the show?
I
Or you know of it?
I know of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the superheroes in the show, I guess.
My husband does not like those kinds of shows.
Yeah.
Even Euphoria was too much. He said.
I haven't messed with that one, so.
Yeah. He was like, no.
So anyway, but one of the stars in that show supposedly had like a radical facial reconstruction and surgery, and then so like all of a sudden her cheeks are really up, and they're like, you know what I'm saying? But she looked great before, and so it's certainly going around right now talking about her, and not even needing. But you know what? You brought up a powerful point too about how you seen people's personality change for the better after the surgery. Because if you would have, I've shared previously that if you ask me what difference will surgery make, I would say on a confidence spectrum, my opinion would be 5%.
Yes.
Like if you were at a 70 before, yeah, you go up to 75. You were 80 before, 85. You were 50, 55. Like is it gonna push you up 40%? I don't know. I don't think so. Again, if we're just talking like speculating how much of an impact does surgery have, I'm going 5%.
Mm-hmm.
What's your perspective? Would you put a percent out there as far as the impact? Because the story you had told about the girl who got her nose redone, I mean, the small little story you told, it was like, dang, she sounded like she had like 50% of an increase in personality. What would your take be on her? On her or even in general?
Just in general, I guess for her, yeah, I do feel like it made a difference. It's almost like you don't see people carrying around this weight until you see it removed. Like she was bubbly before, I was bubbly before, like I was bubbly before I got my teeth fixed. So it was like I was bubbly. I would laugh all the time. She was kind of the same way, but it's like the difference once, the change was made, once I fixed my teeth, once she got her nose done, it was like night and day. Like before she used to only post, 1 or 2 pictures, sometimes 5 pictures like a year,
Yeah.
But now, now she posts pictures all the time because she loves herself. She's so much more happy, So it's like for some people, I feel like, especially if it's something you've thought about a lot and it's something that you think about, you really want to do, it can make a bigger jump. I think it can be at least, max that a physical appearance can make is probably like 30%. I feel like it can go up 30%.
You feel like for her it was at 30%?
Yeah, I feel like it was at 30%. Maybe before she was at like 70.
Yeah.
She was good. She was happy. She was fine.
Now, what would you think? What would you think about the idea of? It makes you think about like I feel like all of life is almost a sample size, but the sample size of her personality transformation comes from whatever maybe we'll say you observed her for like how long has it been? A couple of years?
So I met her in 2018. So I met her in 2018. I think I knew her for like a year before when she wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
Then
so 2019.
So 2019, 2020, she got it done.
2019, 2020. So you have about like 3 or 4 years of data kind of as far as looking at it. Okay.
Yeah.
It does make you think about, because I
And even now, like, she deleted all her pictures from before, you know? It's like she loves who she is now.
Yeah. The reason, the point I was getting at was, does that last?
That's what I was thinking, like, right now as we were talking. What? I don't know what I was reading one time. But you know the term, like, diminishing your marginal return?
Yes.
So, like, that's exactly what I feel like ends up happening. I feel like, you make these changes, and especially if you make a 30% jump when you change one thing,
Yeah.
you think, like, oh, I changed. Let's say she was at, like, let's say 65, and then it
Right.
jumped up 30%. She thinks if she makes all these other changes about other little things, it's like that was a big thing. It was
Yeah.
a big problem. And it's like, she's like, oh, well, if let's say, like, I'm going to say, for example, let's say I'll change my lips and I'll,
Yeah.
get some Botox, or I'll do this, or I'll get, implants, whatever it is. You think, like, oh, I'm going to jump up another 30% because my confidence jumped up 30%. Like, well, you will begin to diminish your marginal return at some point in time. You're going to
Yeah.
overdo it, and it's not going to feel good, And, people who, if anybody doesn't know what diminishing your marginal return, it's like when you're eating pizza and it tastes really good, and you eat that first slice and it's like, oh my gosh, this pizza's so good. So then you eat another one, right? And it gets so much better. So then you eat a third one and you feel like peak happy, super happy. So what do you want to do? You want to have a fourth slice. You have a fourth slice.
Yeah.
And you start feeling like, oh, I overdid it. And then
Yeah.
you're like, maybe if I have one more. Or like, it's still super good, but
Yeah.
it's now, and then you have that fifth slice, and now it doesn't taste that good. Now you're sick, and the happiness really didn't last that long. I feel like that's what ends up happening. You think more slices of pizza is gonna make you feel better, but it makes you feel worse.
Another story, which it's interesting when it comes to how much women value the attention of men. Clearly, I don't think there's any dispute as far as men value the attention of women, but I think now it's probably more obvious and clear than ever that how much women value the attention of men when it comes to posting sexually explicit content, and not even like sexually explicit. This is just talking about picture when they're revealing more of their breast, or more of their legs, or more of their cheeks, or whatever it is that they're revealing. It's the story I was going to share was, or even when it comes to the lip fillers. So on the topic of attention by men, it's an interesting one because, yeah, social media, you'll get likes or comments of compliments. But so when I see somebody like that in real life, I'm fascinated, not like seductively. I'm not like, oh, I want to take this girl to the back and have sex with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, but let's say my wife was just watching me, right? And she was just watching me watch the girl. I'm looking at her lips. I'm like, why are her lips so big? Like, why are they like that? Now, I may be mindful enough not to like be disgusted, but I'm like looking. So she walks across the room. Oh, like, I wonder if she's had more surgery. Like, and my face is probably like looking. Now, what does this look like to my wife, though? Right? What does it look? It looks like maybe I'm lusting. Maybe I'm like thinking about how attractive this girl is. The reality is I'm fascinated, as in I'm interested in what happened here. How did this come about? Not so much like, hey, I think this is the most beautiful person I've ever met. And not even that I think she's more beautiful than you, but I'm like, oh, like, there's something different going on. I don't know how much of her lips are clearly not natural. Is her chest natural? Is her figure like, hey, how is her chest so big but her waist so small? Like all these things. Now, it's a curiosity, but sometimes I think there's this idea of, oh, like she's getting all this attention from men. This isn't for me it hasn't reached a positive attention yet. It's a fascination, but it's more so like even concerned of somebody making that many adjustments to themselves.
Yeah. Also, aside from that, it's the same. And you saying from men specifically, but I'm thinking, and this is, I'm sure, what a lot of women would say, is it's not just attention from men, it's attention from other women as well. So that same curiosity, that same fascination, the same likes you get on social media, I've heard even other women say like it means more if it comes from another woman.
Yeah.
So like if other women are liking their stuff, if other women are, commenting on their things, and other women do pay attention in public like that as well. So you know, I've seen people do it. I have friends who do it. I've done it, like the whole curiosity thing, wondering as well. It is funny to think, you don't automatically look at someone and go, "Oh man, they're so beautiful." And it is unfair also, I think, cuz sometimes I do see somebody who is really beautiful and I'm like, "Oh wow, like she's really, really pretty." I just still wonder if she got anything done. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Almost
yeah,
like,
yeah.
especially if you haven't gotten anything done. Like
Yeah.
I haven't gotten any lip fillers or done any of that. So I wonder, like, oh man, this person's so pretty.
Yeah.
Like, are they naturally like that, or am I setting myself up for failure? You know what I mean?
Right, right,
Like
right.
I cannot compare myself to. I should never compare myself to anybody else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's human nature that sometimes I look at another woman, I'm like, oh man, like how'd she get her butt that big? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm
right,
like,
right,
oh,
right.
like whatever she's doing, I kind of want to know. But then if I go ask and she's like, oh, like I got a BBL or whatever.
Right,
Then
yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. But I guess I'm still curious. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
these things. There's no like, I don't really know. I don't know why it's such like a big thing either.
yeah. Mhm.
Sometimes I wonder. I wonder like if we are setting ourselves up for failure, like like our kids, like I don't know
Kids, yes.
what I'm gonna do in the future. If I only have my son right now, but let's say I had a girl in the future,
That's,
and then
as I was gonna ask you about hypothetically. Keep going. Keep going.
hypothetically I have a
Yeah.
girl in the future. Even my son, like what if he starts gaining weight? He starts gaining weight, he gets to middle school, and people call him pudgy, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
things like that. I'm really big on like I don't like it. My son is a little on the chunky side, but he's a baby. He's a baby
Right,
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 now.
right,
He's
right,
a
right.
baby right now. But
He's
I
like
don't.
months old.
So I think I still don't like it when anybody calls him fat.
Yes,
I don't
yes,
like
yes.
that. So anytime somebody calls him fat, I'm like, he's not fat, or like even like I've brought it up to my parents. Like my dad's like, oh man, like he's getting to be a big boy, and I'm like, don't call him any names. And he's like, no, no, no. Like if he's the more weight he has, the bigger he's gonna get. Like the stronger he's gonna be. He's like, we want him to be chunky. We
Yeah.
want him to be bigger. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so make sure you tell him that. Don't tell Kalel that. My son. I'm like, tell him that because I don't want him to grow up and think like that he's fat.
Right,
because
right.
I don't like that.
True. It's interesting with children, and I feel the pull. Okay, so I love that you illustrated the negative side as far as like potentially negative words to him, but even how weird compliments on the positive side can be. I'll give you an example. One of my friends, she has my friends, they're a couple. They have a daughter, and she has nice lips. Like the daughter has nice. Isn't that a weird thing? Like, and so now I never said that to so the women have said it around me, and I'm not even gonna say yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's weird.
Yeah.
This is a weird, but it's like the idea is. So you were just saying, hey, I wouldn't want bad things to be said about them, but then there's another side of it, which is like, what about good things? About again, like it's just a weird thing. And then so my wife and I were talking about it afterwards. Isn't that this is strange if you would hear a grown man compliment any girl's lips? It's just a weird thing. Now, can they be objectively pretty? I think they could. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But like, is it ever appropriate?
No.
I don't think I'd ever want my daughter's lips complimented. You know what I'm saying? Like-
Absolutely not. Grown men do not do that.
But now let's go to so it's a similar topic when it comes to my wife. I remember, we've been on different journeys as far as losing weight, gaining weight. As we've been married for 10 years, and there was a time when she was on one of her journeys of losing weight, and then I was conflicted about should I compliment the weight loss? Like, would I make this connection with her, which, hey, I like you like this, but then it's like, so let's say our the weight loss journey has been whatever, like up and down, and this is way it is for a lot of people. like, do I want her to remember, oh, Derek complimented me when I lost weight, but he didn't compliment me when I gained weight. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I remember we even had some conflict about it, and I was like, and I told her, I said, look, I want to recognize your discipline. I want to recognize that you're losing weight, but I feel conflicted with telling you that, with complimenting the weight loss, and she's like saying that she wants the compliment, and again, she can't get an appropriate compliment from anybody else, really. You know what I'm saying? And like feel
Yes.
good about it, other than her husband. But her husband was like feeling weird about it because of how the problems I see in society and the obsession on weight loss and all of this. So I'm like, like I remember, we got some another couple. We got another couple. We're like, hey, we're having this issue, and then the other brother was like, bro, this if she wants the compliment, just give her the compliment. Don't overthink it and make it about like the obsession our culture has with weight loss and skinniness and thinness and all this. Just give her the compliment. So I think there's that element of, we were talking about the bad things we could say in critiques on people's looks, and then I can feel conflicted on the positive side as well. Am I contributing to this larger problem? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what is your take on how you navigate the look adjustments from your son or even a potential daughter, and how you would navigate all of that? I suppose everything on the table in that arena would be the little stuff, maybe
Like
piercings,
that's what you think.
hair color,
Hair color. So
makeup, and on the
Extreme.
extreme side, maybe breast enhancement surgery, BBL, maybe something in the middle, maybe lip filler, laser hair removal.
hmm
Like, what's your perspective in all of those things as a parent?
especially like me growing up, I know like I got in trouble the first time like I ever shaved my legs. Like, cause I guess it was around that time when other people, like other girls, like either didn't grow as much hair as I did, or they were shaving their legs. So it was like I felt like if I didn't do it, people would make comments like, "Oh, you have hairy legs," like, "Oh, your legs are hairy," or just stuff
Connected
like
to
that.
your high testosterone.
Connected to my high testosterone. That's true. That's true.
All right, keep going.
So that's exactly been the problem. So especially because of that, like I know that I was super self conscious about it for a long time.
Yeah.
I wanted to just, shave my legs. So I've always said, like, if I had a daughter and she wanted to shave her legs, would I let her shave her legs with a razor? Maybe not. Maybe, like, do other kinds of hair removal, like waxing or something like that. Something not as
The painful one.
the painful one. Yeah, but it lasts longer. Also, like, I've had problems with my skin, so I have sensitive skin, thick
Yeah.
hair, so I shave my legs, and I would always get, like, razor bumps and, like, always had problems. Always,
Yeah.
always, always. So I have had laser hair removal done.
Mhm.
So if I had, like, let's say my child, they were in high school and I saw that they were going through the same problems that I was for laser hair, like, with my hair, I would let them get laser hair removal.
Yeah.
But that's because I specifically have been through that. So let's say if I was somebody who, let's say I naturally had, like, a big nose or, something like that. And growing up, I had those problems and people always made fun of me or like, said stuff to me. And then I had a child who then also had the same nose and they're in school. And, once they got to high school, would I feel like, oh, because I had been through that, would I let them do that? That's,
Yeah.
that's where I get into the conflict. Piercings and stuff like that. Okay. I don't really want my child to have holes in their face. That was something that I like, especially like I never wanted to do. So
Yeah,
I've had
yeah.
like a septum piercing. I've had, like my ears pierced. That's it. But like, I never. It did eventually end up getting like a little stud right here. But I don't know if our sister, she had like an eyebrow pierce.
Yeah, and she had this.
She had the little bar in the nose.
Yeah.
So it's like. But I could still see her tiny little holes, like the tiny little holes in her face. So like I always like, oh, like I don't wanna put holes in my face, like
Yeah.
So I do still have a tiny little hole on my nose, but I'm like, oh, it's no bigger than a pore, and really like I don't notice diamonds. I guess if you didn't know
Right.
that Diamond had the piercings, you might not see them.
No, for sure.
So it's like I just didn't want to do it, So would
Yeah.
I want my child really to do it? Not really. gauges where the holes get bigger. You know, if my child wanted to get like the dimple ones with the gauges where they could put a straw, you know, in there, how would I feel?
Yeah. Well, you know what the interesting thing about the surgery is when it comes to the documentation of our journey. I remember I went to a wedding. So we're at this wedding. They're showing, I guess they're doing a slideshow of like the history of their relationship and them growing up as kids, and then they're together. And sure enough, the wife had got a nose job, I guess before the wedding, for the wedding. So they were looking at all these pictures. We're like, hold on, like
Who is that?
I don't know her very much, so I'm just seeing two different people. Now, did the guy who had invited me have to tell me that she got a nose job? He probably didn't, but it was just kind of just an interesting thing. Like you just think about, okay, so the idea then is, hey, I got the nose job so people wouldn't make fun of me, so I feel better about myself. But then you still have the history of pictures that you had before the nose job, which makes things fascinating to say the least.
So get the nose job as early as possible.
Oh man.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But like, you know, that's but she will now look at all of her pictures from the time that she got married after and be like, "Oh, I love the life, you know, this is how I wanted to start my life with you
Yeah.
as my best self." Like, you know,
Right.
how she wanted to see herself. So,
Well, did you hear that story a few years back when the man divorced his wife after they had kids and the kids came out looking rough, as in not attractive, not beautiful. And then she confessed that she had a whole lot of plastic surgery that helped her to look the way she looks now. He felt cheated because he married this version of her. They procreated, had a kid, and this kid is really unattractive, who looks closer to the way she looked before the
before the
surgery.
surgery.
He divorces her, and I think he even tried to sue her
I
for
think
like,
all of that actually, you know, I went on a deep dive looking into that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it actually turned out that that whole thing was about a picture, right? So it was like it was a picture, an ad for plastic surgery. So it was like a dad, a mom who were very attractive, and they had ugly kids, right? So and the slogan was something like, what did it say? Like, we're so good at what we do, like even your husband wouldn't be able to tell. You know, like even your partner wouldn't be able to tell. Something like that.
Yeah.
So in reality, the model from everybody was mad because, you know, somebody had made up that whole story. The model from that picture, she had no work done. So then she was getting so much backlash. She had all these people coming at her, like
Yeah.
getting mad. Definitely, is it possible?
Yeah.
100% could be possible.
Yeah.
Could be possible. But yeah, that whole thing, you know, it's goes back to the whole, like, are we setting ourselves up for failure? Do you know you're going to this plastic surgeon who you think made this woman beautiful, made all this possible, and in reality, she naturally looked like that. You know,
Yeah.
like you're trying to achieve a natural look with unnatural things, you know?
Right. So it does make me ask the question about like who this person is accepting, or am I accepted by you? Am I accepted by these people, or they're accepting this one version of me, but it's not the real me. That's what I always wonder about, the lasting impact or the lasting effect, and the insecurities and worries and fears that I have about, like, if he knew me before the nose,
Yeah.
or if they knew me before the booty or before the breast, or if they knew me before the teeth, like, which I mean, I naturally see things with that Bible worldview, and I just see it like, hey, well, God loved me at my very, very worst morally, which I think is the worst. Like, morality seems to be like a horrific, immoral person seems to be the worst of humanity. I think if you take the worst behaving person, maybe we'll say a Hitler, and you'll say the ugliest person who's ever lived. I won't put a name on that. I don't know who that would be, but we'll say I think Hitler's worse. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we
yeah.
go, they're
Yeah.
uglier, right?
Yeah.
So, but the idea then, if the message, that Christian message is like that, God loves me at my very, very worst, at the ugliest I could possibly be, my most immoral, And then if I'm able to take that principle and pass it out, I think the idea is, do does God or do people love me at my worst? And if the answer is no, I gotta change me so that they can love me, which
Mhm.
is, I even saying that makes me sad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
It's crazy that you bring that up because I've known Jeremy since we were like in 8th grade.
yeah,
So in 8th grade, I still had my braces. Like the first time I had the braces, I had them for, I want to say 2 years at that point. So I ended up having them on for 3 years, but I had them on. So I didn't have, like, my teeth were not that nice. I still wasn't, I was super skinny. Like I didn't, do my hair or whatever. So that's when I met Jeremy. So to me, I feel like I met Jeremy um, at a point when I wasn't, like, didn't feel very pretty. You know what I mean? Like I didn't
hmm
feel very pretty. I wasn't that pretty, and me and him still, he was still attracted to me. You know what I mean? We were
yeah,
both kids. He was still attracted to me, and so me and him had kind of, become little baby boyfriend girlfriend just for a little bit back then. And as I've gotten older, like, even now he's like, I always thought you're pretty. He's like, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm a lot prettier now because, I've gotten my teeth fixed twice. Like
mm,
I have had laser hair removal done. Like my mustache is not as thick. My eyebrows are not as bushy. Like,
yeah,
and he's all, well, I liked your eyebrows. I like,
mm,
the way that
mm,
you looked. So he's like, anything that you want to do, like, that's up to you. He's like, but I think that you look perfect the way that you are.
yeah,
So I do see that, that always makes me feel better. Like I always feel like, or other people that I've met since, which is also primarily why I am married to Jeremy, because I feel like I never knew if anybody I met after that, because, we weren't consistently boyfriend and girlfriend from the time we were 14 all the way to, when we got married.
yeah,
There's pockets in there where we didn't even see each other for years,
sure,
so it's like I had met other people, I had, seen other people, and I didn't know for sure if, like, okay, would this person have still liked me, before I had all, before I got the braces, before I did, whatever. And it's a difficult feeling, which is why I personally love my husband. Like, I love being with my husband because I feel like I have. Yep. So I love my husband because of, especially because of that.
yeah,
So I don't know.
yeah. That's
It
massive,
goes back to the whole, if he loved me when I was at my worst,
right?
I do I hold myself to that beauty standard? Do I still do
Mm,
my eyebrows? Yes. And every time I
yeah.
do my eyebrows, Jeremy's like, "Let your eyebrows get bushy again." And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let my eyebrows get bushy again. But he's like, just, I'm going in there and I'm tweezing him. He's all, "You've changed your eyebrows." I'm like, yep. So it's like, I don't know. He's
yeah.
all, are you still holding up to the standard for me? Are you doing whatever else?
Yeah. And then it's interesting as we talked about it lasting, like the confidence it lasts, the personality transformation lasts. Like, and what if somebody, I always think the interesting thing about men, they say different things about the way we age. We age with grace or whatever, or we age with whatever it is. I think grace is probably the right word, but there's probably another word as well. Um, but then in some elements, it's not aging with grace. Eventually, you get to a point where it's a downslope. Like, again, like I had curly hair when I met my wife. I have no hair now. So, like,
Yeah.
I think for her that would have been probably, she liked curly hair more than bald. Like, it's you know what I'm saying? Like, if you compare the two,
Yeah.
but it's back to, like, I think there's so much about character, and there. Do I have less confidence with my wife? Oh, like, does she love me less because she liked the way I looked before more? Did she like the way I look now? I don't think I have any loss of confidence in the way my wife feels about me.
Mhm.
Even though I think I would, so then objectively, I'd say objectively looking worse now, right? Now maybe my muscles are different, and even I think that's interesting too from the men's side. I pulled up the men issues as well. I don't remember if image issues was the same as men facing in Gen Z, but I know I can go through it. I remember even in 7th and 8th and 9th grade, the way my chest is even formed, I have a little bit of a, it kind of comes out in the middle in an irregular way.
Like pigeon chested.
Yeah, I think that's
Like
actually
how mom says that she's pigeon chested too, so she is like.
so I remember, like, me being so self-conscious about it, I was like, let me go have the doctor's appointment and then like consider surgery. Like, and we went to the doctor's office, we considered the surgery, and I remember they told us that they would have to break the bones in my chest to do the surgery. And mom was like not liking the idea of me breaking my chest, but she also, I think she left it up to me, and I ultimately was like, nah, it's probably not. And I'm very, very grateful, but I know even now, I haven't escaped the idea of like even thinking, even in a somewhat obsessive way about the way I think. I mean, even we're doing the pod, like you ran a little bit late. No problem there. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get some more bicep and tricep work so that my biceps and triceps pop a little bit more on the pod. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's just some of, again, the obsessive nature of the culture, right? Where we think about how we look, and I'm thinking about how my arms look, on the show and all of that. So there is an element where that continues, and I am still influenced by the culture's obsession on outward appearance.
This is what I think. If everybody on the planet looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy, what would change, really? I guess we'll never know. But it's just something to ponder when you're in the shower or whatever.
So what I want you to do is I want you to go to your Sims game. Go to the Sims and create every character as a Pillsbury Doughboy, and you watch it play out, and you tell me what happens within that. Do you ever play Sims? Or no? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pops used to give me all the codes, the cheat codes. So I'd put all the cheat codes in, and then I'd have millions of dollars. And then it would be no fun anymore because I'd have the biggest house.
So, yeah, it's, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a game where you could kind of play God almost, as far as building your...
But you have to feed them and stuff, right?
That's kind of a God thing, providing behind the scenes.
I guess.
But I guess you have to tell them to eat or cook.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So...
They can get depressed, too. Do you know that?
Yes. Yeah, they can...
Go crazy.
They could die. You could put them in the pool and take the ladder away, and they'll die in there.
I never tried that. Actually, a different tangent. I had seen a Reddit post where somebody was talking about Minecraft. Have you ever played the game Minecraft?
Seen it. I don't know if I played it myself.
It's kind of like, I don't know if it's similar, but I do know that I've never played either, so I don't really know how it works. But I do know that there was a story about somebody who said that they remembered when they were a kid, they would do something where all the villagers were together, and they would, this is just one example of what they did. They created like a factory where they would torture the villagers, and like they would go and pick a random villager and like drown it and like do different things. And they had a window into the factory where the villagers all had to work, and they could see into the window where they would eventually, and this is how they put it, where they would eventually also meet their fate. It was something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I never want my life to be on that person's hands.
All right. So maybe we'll bring it back to
bring it back.
Children drawing the lines with what you would and would not let them do.
Yes.
Okay. I think about the topic and the challenge it is. I know you and I we had a jovial conversation about rule following. It's a real conversation in real life that parents go through, as far as like, you have societal rules that people follow, you have your school rules, and then if you have a faith-based background, you have the Christian rules, right? And then it's like, what about those? So then what do you do with the child who wants to color their hair, purple? You know what I'm saying? And I've seen some parents go, hey, look, we're not going to fight about everything. We'll let them win this, in the sense of, we can't take a stand on every single issue at 100%. At some issues, we got to go, hey, like, if you want to color your hair, we'll go with you, and I'll color my hair too, or something like that. Like, this idea of not drawing the line there. I think surgery gets so interesting.
Yeah.
Like the idea of I guess the rhinoplasty.
Rhinoplasty.
Yeah. And then other things as well. again, even now, turkey now it has again with the hair
Hair implants.
replacement
I was
implants
gonna
and all
ask you
that.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. What were we gonna ask about it?
When you were talking about it, I was gonna say, like, have you ever thought about getting like hair implants?
Every now and then I'm going, and it's weird 'cause it's the idea of like, where would I put my hairline? Because before it was up there anyway. You know what I'm saying? Would I bring it all the way down and be like
Tiny forehead.
the 1.5 inch?
It's
But
actually a forehead. Yeah, 2 head.
but like it's like anything else. Like you look up the terms and conditions. Oh, you have this problem, maybe this problem. You maybe impotence and all this is like that. That is like, oh dang, like all these things that come with it. But that's just kind of for fun. I think it's a fun topic. But I think seriously, no, I think I in the wrestling match I have now, and even whether it's my messaging with what I tell people and then what I live by are interesting. But I try to say plainly, I very much do specific things that is related to cultural or appearance obsession, or like the obsession of my physical appearance. I'm not like 0%. I'm not even like 5%. But it's like, okay, well, did I think through what shirt I was gonna wear today? Yeah, I put up like. So, I know it doesn't seem like anything much, but I thought a lot through my whole wardrobe. Hey, collar, nah, too much. And then I was like, well, I wanted a lighter color shirt. I don't really have a whole lot of I have some V-necks over here, but that shaving my head, if we're gonna be honest about altering your physical appearance, sometimes even on the Christian side, we get overly judgmental, like, oh, like, lip filler, how dare you? But it's like, hold on. Like, how much self-editing do I do on my body as is? I shave, that's altering the natural appearance. I trim my nails, altering the natural appearance. I iron my clothes, altering the wrinkled natural appearance. So like all these things that we do on a regular basis. When I had hair, I cut my hair. I trim my beard in a specific way to have it a little bit of style. So all these things, I do think about how it also aligns with what I tell people. But I feel like I probably it wouldn't align close enough with my values to do something that radical.
Drastic, yeah.
Yeah, as far as like hair implants. So it's just to me, it's a fun thought to entertain, but not to take seriously.
Yeah.
What about you? If a kid or if your husband started to lose his hair and he wanted to, how would you navigate that?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Let's see. Obviously I would be on his side. I would do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
If he really, really it was really taking a toll on his self-esteem and his feeling, how he feels about himself, or his personality was taking a dive and he really wanted to do it. I would be supportive.
Yeah.
But just messing around, kind of he wants to do it, but he's not sure. I'll just be like, don't worry about it. You look fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Angelina and I were having a conversation the other day, and I was like, I think I was outside, or I put on some sunblock or something, and then I was like, hey, eventually I told her, I said, hey, if there's ever anything you want me to do, I don't know how blackheads work, I don't know how facial care works, I'm not really that kind of guy as far as looking into facial cleansing and all of that stuff. The way some, I guess, men even have a facial cleansing routine or whatever. I don't, but I was like, if you ever wanted me to do something, she's like, okay, I'll get a mask for you to, next week or whatever. But no, she was just playing. But the idea of even that stuff, especially in the profession of whether speaking in public or coaching people, it's a lot of face, or even in making content, it's a lot of my face. So I said, if there's things you want me to do as far as skincare, because you and I were talking about last pod about putting people in charge of things that they're better at. Yeah, she's better at self-care stuff. I mean, I've been to a dermatologist since we've been married. I have regular doctor's appointments, regular dentist appointments. I have a doctor's appointment today, actually. Actually, I need to go. We need to wrap this podcast. She's commenting she's not commenting in the chat, but I just remembered right now. Anyway, any last words you want to say before we wrap?
Nope. That'll be it, I guess.
Right in the middle of that speech, too. All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday, 12 p.m. We'll aim to start closer to right on time next time, and we'll go from there. I'll get to my daughter's appointment, and then we'll rock and roll next Tuesday, 12 p.m.
Yep.
You guys have a good one. Thanks, Amy.